Good day, friends. Welcome to Gord's Poetry Show number 91. I'm reading today from an anthology edited by Czeslaw Milosz, a Book of Luminous Things. This lovely anthology just came into my life a few weeks ago. Copyright 1996. It is filled with wonderful poems from many epochs and cultures, from the ancient to the modern and pit stops in between. And on this sunny afternoon, I will begin with some poems almost picked at random. We're not doing much choosing here. There is no need. Mary Oliver, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes. Over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. D.H. Lawrence, Mystic. They call all experience of the senses mystic when the experience is considered. So an apple becomes mystic when I taste in it the summer and the snows, the wild welter of earth and the insistence of the sun. All of which things I can surely taste in a good apple, though some apples taste preponderantly of water, wet and sour, and some of too much sun, brackish sweet like lagoon water that has been too much sunned. If I say I taste these things in an apple, I am called mystic, which means a liar. The only way to eat an apple is to hog it down like a pig and taste nothing. That is real. But if I eat an apple, I like to eat it with all my senses awake. Hogging it down like a pig, I call the feeding of corpses. Robert Morgan, Honey. Only calmness will reassure the bees to let you rob their hoard. Any sweat of fear provokes them. Approach with confidence and from the side, not shading their entrance. And hush smoke gently from the spout of the pot of rags, for sparks will anger them. If you go near bees every day, they will know you, and never jerk or turn so quick you excite them. If weeds are trimmed around the hive, they have access and feel free. When they taste your smoke, They fill themselves with honey and are laden and lazy as you lift the lid to let in daylight. No bee full of sweetness wants to sting. Resist greed. With the top off, you touch the fat gold frames, each cell a hex perfect as a snowflake, a sealed relic of sun and time, and roots of many acres fixed in crystal tight arrays, in rows and lattices of sweeter Latin from scattered prose of meadow, woods. Galway Kinnell, or is that Kinnell? I think it's Kinnell. Daybreak. On the tidal mud just before sunset, dozens of starfishes were creeping. It was as though the mud were a sky and enormous imperfect stars moved across it slowly as the actual stars cross heaven. All at once they stopped, and as if they had simply increased their receptivity to gravity, they sank down into the mud. They faded down into it and lay still. And by the time pink of sunset broke across them, they were as invisible as the true stars are at daybreak. Robinson Jeffers, Carmel Point. The extraordinary patience of things. This beautiful place defaced with a crop of suburban houses. How beautiful when we first beheld it. Unbroken field of poppy and lupin, walled with clean cliffs, no intrusion but 2 or 3 horses pasturing, or a few milch cows rubbing their flanks on the outcrop rock heads. Now the spoiler has come, does it care? Not faintly. It has all time. It knows the people are a tide that swells and in time will ebb, and all their works dissolve. Meanwhile, the image of the pristine beauty lives in the very grain of the granite, safe as the endless ocean that climbs our cliff. And for us, as for us, we must uncenter our minds from ourselves. We must unhumanize our views a little and become confident as the rock and ocean that we were made from. Gary Snyder. Dragonfly. Dragonfly, dead on the snow, how did you come so high? Did you leave your seed child in a mountain pool before you died? Theodore Rothke. Carnations. Pale blossoms, each balanced on a single jointed stem, and leaves curled back in elaborate Corinthian scrolls. And the air cool, as if drifting down from wet hemlocks or rising out of ferns not far from water. A crisp hyacinthine coolness, like that clear autumnal weather of eternity. The windless perpetual morning above a September cloud. W.S. Merwin. Did I say Merwin? Sorry. Dusk in winter. The sun sets in the cold without friends. without reproaches after all it has done for us. It goes down believing in nothing. When it is gone, I hear the stream running after it. It has brought its flute. It is a long way. Zbigniew Masiej, I'm not sure, it's Polish, I apologize. Orchids in July. Waters from cold springs and glittering minerals tirelessly wander. Patient, unceasing, they overcome granite, layers of hungry gravel, iridescent precincts of clay. If they abandon themselves to the black roots, it's only to go up as high as possible, through wells hidden under the bark of fruit trees, through the green touched with grey of leaves, fallen petals of white flowers with rosy edges, apples heavy with sweet redness and their bitterish seeds. O waters from cold springs and glittering minerals, you are awaited by a circus with a fluid sunny outline and by an abyss of blue which has been rinsed in the just wind. That was translated by Czeslaw Milosz and Robert Haas. Philip Levine, A Sleepless Night. April, and the last of the plum blossoms scatters on the black grass before dawn. The sycamore, the lime, the struck pine inhale the first pale hints of sky. An iron day, I think, yet it will come dazzling, the light rise from the belly of leaves and pour burning from the cups of poppies. The mockingbird squawks from his perch, fidgets and settles back. The snail, awake for good, trembles from his shell and sets sail for China. My hand dances in the memory of a million vanished stars. A man has every place to lay his head. Denise Levertov, Living. The fire in leaf and grass, so green it seems each summer the last summer. The wind blowing, the leaves shivering in the sun, each day the last day. A red salamander, so cold and so easy to catch, dreamily moves his delicate feet and long tail. I hold my hand open for him to go. Each minute the last minute. Robert Creeley, Like They Say. Underneath the tree on some soft grass I sat. I watched two happy woodpeckers be disturbed by my presence. And why not? I thought to myself. Why not? Jean Follin, or Follin, translated from the French by Milosz and Robert Haas. A taxidermist. A taxidermist is sitting before the russet breasts of green and purple wings of his songbirds, dreaming about his lover with a body so different yet so close, sometimes to the body of the birds, that it seemed to him very strange in its curves and its volumes, in its colours and its finery and its shades. David Wagner. Loons mating. Their necks and their dark heads lifted into a dawn, blurred smooth by mist. The loons beside each other are swimming slowly in charmed circles, their bodies stretched under water. Through ripples quivering and sweeping apart the grey sky, now held close by the lake's mercurial threshold, whose face and underface they share in wheeling and diving tandem, rising together to swell their breasts like swans, to go breasting forward with beaks turned down and in, near shore, out of sight, behind a windbreak of birch and alder. And now the haunted, uprisen, wailing call. And again, and now the beautiful, sane laughter. Edward Field, A Journey. When he got up that morning, everything was different. He enjoyed the bright spring day, but he did not realize it exactly. He just enjoyed it. And walking down the street to the railroad station, past magnolia trees with dying flowers like old socks, it was a long time since he had breathed so simply. Tears filled his eyes and it felt good, but he held them back because men didn't walk around crying in that town. Waiting on the platform at the station, the fear came over him of something terrible about to happen. The train was late and he recited the alphabet to keep hold. And in its time it came screeching in, and as it went on making its usual stops, people coming and going, telephone poles passing, he hid his head behind a newspaper, no longer able to hold back the sobs, and willed his eyes to follow the rational weavings of the seat fabric. He didn't do anything violent as he had imagined. He cried for a long time, but when he finally quieted down, a place in him that had been closed like a fist was open. And at the end of the ride, he stood up and got off that train. And through the streets and in all the places he lived in later on, he walked, himself at last, a man among men, with such radiance that everyone looked up and wondered. Wang Wei, that's Chinese, 8th century. That's a long time ago. Magnolia Basin. On branch tips, the hibiscus bloom. The mountains show off red calluses. Nobody, a silent cottage in the valley. One by one, flowers open, then fall. Another one from the 8th century, Liu Tsiung Yuan, Old Fisherman, translated from the Chinese by J.P. Seaton. Old fisherman spends his night between the western cliffs. At dawn, he boils Husiang's waters, burns bamboo of Chu. When the mists burned off and the suns come out, he's gone. The slap of the oars, the mountain waters green, turn and look at heaven's edge. He's moving with the flow. Above the cliffs, the aimless clouds go by. Joseph Brodsky, translated from the Russian by George C. Klein. Oh, that's George I. Klein. In the Lake District. In those days, in a place where dentists thrive, their daughters order fancy clothes from London, their painted forceps hold aloft on signboards a common and abstracted wisdom tooth. There I, whose mouth holds ruins more abject than any Parthenon, a spy, a spearhead for some fifth column of a rotting culture. My cover was a lit professorship. Was living at a college near the most renowned of the freshwater lakes. The function to which I'd been appointed was to wear out the patience of the ingenuous local youth. Whatever I wrote then was incomplete. My lines expired in a string of dots. Collapsing, I dropped, still fully dressed, upon my bed. At night I stared up at the darkened ceiling until I saw a shooting star, which then, conforming to the laws of self-combustion, would flash. Before I'd even made a wish, across my cheek and down onto my pillow. Milosz prefaces a couple of Whitman's poems, that's Walt Whitman, by mentioning some Civil War poems that should be included. A sight in camp in the daybreak, grey and dim. A sight in camp in the daybreak, grey and grim, as from my tent I emerge so early sleepless, as slow I walk in the cool fresh air, the path near by the hospital tent. 3 forms I see on stretchers lying, broad out there, untended lying. Over each the blanket spread, ample brownish woolen blanket, grey and heavy blanket, folding, covering all. Curious I halt and silent stand. Then with light fingers I from the face of the nearest, the first, just lift the blanket. Who are you, elderly man, so gaunt and grim, with well-greyed hair and flesh all sunken about the eyes? Who are you, my dear comrade? Then to the second I step. Who are you, my child and darling? Who are you, sweet boy, with cheeks yet blooming? Then to the third. A face nor child nor old, very calm, as of beautiful yellow-white ivory. Young man, I think I know you. I think this face is the face of the Christ himself, dead and divine and brother of all. And here again he lies. Anna Swir, who appears to be Polish, translated by Milosz and Leonard Nathan. The same inside. Walking to your place for a love feast. I saw at a street corner an old beggar woman. I took her hand, kissed her delicate cheek. We talked. She was the same inside as I am, from the same kind. I sensed this instantly, as a dog knows by scent another dog. I gave her money. I could not part from her. After all, one needs someone who is close. And then I no longer knew why I was walking to your place. Well, here's a famous Philip Larkin on the opposite page. The one that's the description of a Dutch painting from the classic period, no doubt. The Card Players. And I'm not going to get the Dutch names correct. But I might have a glass of water first. The Card Players. Jan van Hogspew staggers to the door and pisses at the dark. Outside, the rain courses in cart ruts down the deep mud lane. Inside, Dirk Dog Steward pours himself some more and holds a cinder to his clay with tongs, belching out smoke. Old Prijik snores with the gale, his skull face firelit. Someone behind drinks ale and opens muscles and croaks scraps of songs towards the ham-hung rafters about love. Dirk deals the cards. Wet, century-wide trees clash in surrounding starlessness above this lamplit cave, where Jan turns his back and farts, gobs at the grate, and hits the Queen of Hearts. Rain, wind, and fire. The secret, bestial place. Sharon Olds, an American who does not need translated. I go back to May 1937. I see them standing at the formal gates of their colleges. I see my father strolling out under the ochre sandstone arch, the red tiles glinting like bent plates of blood behind his head. I see my mother with a few light books at her hip, standing at the pillar made of tiny bricks, with the wrought iron gates still open behind her, its sword tips black in the May air. They are about to graduate. They are about to get married. They are kids. They are dumb. All they know is they are innocent. They would never hurt anybody. I want to go up to them and say, stop, don't do it. She's the wrong woman. He's the wrong man. You're going to do things you cannot imagine you would ever do. You're going to do bad things to children. You're going to suffer in ways you never heard of. You're going to want to die. I want to go up to them there in the late May sunlight and say it her hungry, pretty blank face turning to me, her pitiful, beautiful, untouched body, his arrogant, handsome, blind face turning to me, his pitiful, beautiful, untouched body, but I don't do it. I want to live. I want to take them up like the male and female paper dolls and bang them together at the hips like chips of flint, as if to strike sparks from them. I say, do what you're going to do, and I will tell you about it. Steve Coet. When he pressed his lips to my mouth, the knot fell open of itself. When he pressed them to my throat, the dress slipped to my feet. So much I know, but when his lips touched my breast, everything, I swear, down to his very name, became so much confused that I am still, dear friends, unable to recount, as much as I would care to, what delights were next bestowed upon me, and by whom. Another one by Steve Coet. What chord did she pluck? What chord did she pluck in my soul, that girl with the golden necklace and ivory breasts, whose body ignited the river, she who rose like the moon from her bathing and brushed back the ebony hair that fell to her waist and walked off into the twilight dark? O my soul, what chord did she pluck that I am still trembling? Another by Denise Levertov. A woman meets an old lover. He with whom I ran hand in hand, kicking the leathery leaves down Oak Hill Path 30 years ago, appeared before me with anxious face, pale, almost unrecognized, hesitant, lame. He whom I cannot remember hearing laugh out loud, but see in my mind's eye smiling, self-approving, wept on my shoulder. He who seemed always to take and not give, who took me so long to forget, remembered everything I had so long forgotten. Wang Wei, 8th century Chinese, translated by Tony and Willis Barnstone. Lazy about writing poems. With time I became lazy about writing poems. Now my only company is old age. In an earlier life I was a poet, a mistake, and my former body belonged to a painter. I can't abandon habits of that life, and sometimes I'm recognized by people of this world. My name and pen name speak my former being, but about all this my heart is ignorant. Well, some fab poems from a Book of Luminous Things, edited with an introduction by Czeslaw Milosz. Anthologies are wonderful. Oh yes, just marvelous. You get here, many points of view, and yet all sort of singing a similar song. The song of poetry, the rise and fall of emotion, the pungency of thought. The whisper of eternity in every poet's voice. So long, friends. We'll see you again.